prior to that, you shot at that deer last year.
Yeah. So.
And you missed him.
So I didn't really realize that this was the same deer at first. So last year when I was hunting, I took a shot at a really nice buck and I missed him completely, but I thought I got him. The whole story is really, really weird, but I thought I got this deer. He jumped like I hit him, and then he ran and he was standing closer to me. Actually, sorry, farther away from me, and I shot again, and I skimmed him. And we ended up looking for blood. We tracked him, and remember when you came out and we were looking, you were like, are you sure you even hit a buck? Because there were no large tracks there. We were...
Just this little, I'm talking like 140-pound buck track, right?
Yeah, like
these deer...
Tiny little track.
And these deer in this area, a mature buck, he'll go 250 plus, right? Yeah. Like there's some seriously big-bodied animals out there.
First time I've ever done this. It's weird to me.
Yeah. You should know what's going on here. You came from a family of racers. The headset should be...
You never put on one of those helmets?
No. No, I don't like helmets. It's confining to me. It's like...
Welcome back to another episode of Northwoods Whitetails. I'm joined with, yet again, Dustin Martin, Jamie Dragon, and Brooke Naylor. We're going to do another short episode. My bride killed an amazing deer in the Midwest.
Monster.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
The rack of it, for all those watching on YouTube, is right here.
Pick that thing right up.
Yeah, turn that thing around. It is a giant 6x6. Tell us about it, babe.
Oh, I don't know where to start. Well, first of all, Dustin, when you were talking about the monkey on your back before and always waiting to be the last one to get a deer, that seems like it's been me every single year for the last 12 years. And I'm always the last man standing, and it takes forever or it just doesn't happen. So many times I've gone home empty-handed. And so this hunt was pretty awesome because let's see. Where do I even start? There's so much information.
Can I butt in at certain times?
Yeah.
I can.
You should, because obviously you were there and you
knew this. You knew of this buck.
Yeah. So this is
you didn't know if he was still alive, but you knew that he was alive from last spring when you picked his antlers up.
Right. Yeah. So we had left a camera out there last year, and I got this buck on camera. He was missing his right antler, and we went out in the spring to go shed hunting, and we ended up finding that antler. So we actually didn't know if he had dropped his left antler on the property or if he was still holding and dropped it somewhere else or what. So who knows? Maybe we'll find it this year when we go out.
Maybe, but it was a little bit of a touch and go moment. Prior to that, you shot at that deer last year.
Yeah. So...
And you missed him.
So I didn't really realize that this was the same deer at first. So last year when I was hunting, I took a shot at a really nice buck and I missed him completely, but I thought I got him. The whole story is really, really weird, but I thought I got this deer. He jumped like I hit him, and then he ran and he was standing closer to me. Actually, sorry, farther away from me, and I shot again, and I skimmed him. And we ended up looking for blood. We tracked him, and remember when you came out and we were looking, you were like, are you sure you even hit a buck? Because there were no large tracks there. We were...
Just this little, I'm talking 140-pound buck track,
Oh, wow.
right?
Yeah,
Like
like-
these deer,
Tiny little track.
and these deer in this area, a mature buck, he'll go 250
Oh,
plus,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like there's some seriously big-bodied animals out there, and she knew the buck that she shot. We had him on camera before you had shot at him. And when you shot, I was like, "Oh my god! Like, look at the size of this print." You know, it was in the cornfield. It was like little baby thing. You know what I mean?
And you were like, "Are you sure this is where you hit him? Are you sure this is where he was standing?" And I was like, "I'm 100% positive this is where he was standing." But you were questioning it because you were like, "It doesn't seem like he would have been here because there's just baby tracks." So yeah, that was last year. I ended up missing him. It was, just a skim on his leg, and he ended up living, obviously. But that was really disappointing last year. So this year we go out. Actually, well, let's back up a little further. We ended up, I missed him last year. And then, of course, we had left the cameras up when we came home. And then we were catching all of the bucks, dropping their antlers. And, obviously we go out every year and we shed hunt. So, I was getting pretty excited because I got the one picture of him. He dropped one antler. And so we were hoping to be able to find the second. We didn't. We found the right side. But we also found a really nice match, 10-point match to last year. So we were hoping that this deer would be in the area also.
Both of which were Boone and Crockett material.
Yeah. Very large and in charge deer. So then fast forward, we get there this year and we didn't actually know that he would still be around.
There was a bit of a touch and go moment there with the shit show of neighbors that we have to the north now,
Yes.
which it's a family of Amish. There's 100 of them in the family. They all have 100 deer tags. They just keep going by more and more.
But
They have fire in the middle of the winter, and one of the firefighters walked into the barn, and there was 23 deer hanging with no heads. So it was like,
who knows what they were.
yeah.
So we didn't even know what we were walking into this year. We didn't know if there would be deer there or not. So yeah, it was kind of interesting.
So we have no knowledge of anything all summer. We don't run cameras. We don't do anything. We don't step foot on the property. We just show up and hunt.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise, here we are.
Yeah.
How many years have you been hunting this property?
Boy, we've had
12?
no, we've
10,
had
12?
I think 8 maybe.
It's still quite a while, though.
2015, however many years that is. 15.
Really?
That was when I killed
it was
that.
longer.
Yeah, I killed a great big one there. 15. First night we were there. 45 minutes in.
Nice.
My timing's way off.
So you know this property pretty well then.
Yeah.
Like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
Like I know what those deer are going to do before those deer know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They step out in the field and they know where they're headed.
Yeah.
It's different out there, right? Like these deer live and die by their nose, right? They know death comes from above.
Right.
Where these deer back east in the big woods, they know death comes from behind them, right? They're very smart in that sense. Everything out there is wind-based.
Well, they've got us patterned just as much as we have them patterned too.
Well, when you start putting pressure on the property, they know something's up.
But
right?
they know exactly where the stands are because they come up out of the woods and they just look right at you.
Right.
And whether they know that you're there or not, because you're in camo, they're looking to see if there's something in that stand.
Just catch that little bit of movement or whatever it may be, smell.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. They're smart in that sense. They are.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
They're not dumb. By no means is it like super difficult to kill deer out there, right? It's the Midwest. It's nothing compared to here, right?
Maybe
But
it's not
it's a lot of
difficult
fun.
for you.
No, but it's a lot of fun. You get to see deer do deer things where here you don't, right? Like I can talk to, 20 different big woods hunters that have hunted it for 25 years and not a one of them have ever heard a snort wheeze, right? Or a buck roar or any of that, right? But I can take them to a place like the Midwest and they can hear it in a week's time.
Yeah, it's really interesting and fascinating to watch them interact with one another and watch, just
When I was out in Iowa last year, my mind was blown. I was like, I've seen more deer, and here than my whole life. It was really cool.
Yeah. It is. It's a lot of fun. It's a good place to learn.
Yep.
Deer do deer things,
Of
right?
course.
That's-
No matter where they're at.
no matter where they're at, they're still deer and they
Yes.
still do deer things. And you just get to witness and learn that behavior just a little bit more. So not to steal your thunder, fast forward, we arrive. Old dad's on baby duty, right?
Yep.
Okay. And what takes place?
So Well, we decided that we weren't going to hunt in the morning because they ended up planting soybeans, and it's
Well, they
louder
planted
than loud.
soybeans and they hadn't harvested them because
they
the moisture content was too high in them. So
Exactly. So they were still standing and trying to walk through that bean field in the dark in
it's
the
fun,
morning.
right?
Well, and when they're all, they're out there, they're eating.
Oh, yeah.
During the night, we were like, there's just no way that you can make it in there without blowing every deer out. So we just decided that we were going to hunt in the afternoon. We are going to just
your first time in is your best time.
first time in is the best time. And well, let me back up too and say that, over the years, because we know this property really well, there's a stand that we have on the south end of the property, and you're guaranteed to see deer from that stand all the time. But where I was seeing these deer come out, like 3 booners last year, I was like, I need to get closer. I need to get closer.
Right. It's fun to
Or
look
I
at
guess
them, but
the
I would
year
like to actually
before.
have an opportunity.
Yeah.
What
And
stand
so
are you talking?
The lightning stand.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a really fun stand. We have some great stories about that.
It got called the lightning stand because I had shot a buck out of it, and it was in the pouring rain when I retrieved it. And while I was out there retrieving it, that stand got struck by lightning.
Oh,
lightning.
shit.
As I
Oh,
was
yeah.
coming,
Oh, my
it's
God.
pouring rain. It was like a tsunami was coming in. It was like this wall of rain. And he's like, go get a knife. So I'm like running to the truck to go get a knife. And as I'm coming out of the woods, I can see the stand. And it's like a cartoon. Like my legs are still moving really fast. They're running, but my upper body is like, oh my God, because the tree just got struck by lightning. And I
Holy.
fell to the ground. And I was like, we gotta get out of here.
Oh, my God.
It was pretty intense.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Wild West.
Yeah.
So first afternoon.
So, okay, wait. So a few years ago, or 2 years ago, I guess, I wanted to get closer to these deer and where they were coming out. So we ended up setting up a stand closer. And that's actually where I killed my buck last year. So this year I was like, I'm going to that stand. That's where I'm hunting. But the first night, the wind wasn't right. I needed a west wind or like I would say west wind is probably the best there. And it was a northwest. And
You need a dead west or you need a solid east, right?
but
Something
even
like that.
even east is iffy.
If they're in front of you, you're good. But if they come out
Yeah.
behind you, you're screwed.
Exactly. So usually I wait until I get a west wind. And so it was northwest, and I went to the lightning stand, and
Which you were not happy about.
I was not happy about because that's where I
Somebody-
missed that deer last year.
Somebody
and
might have argued with me.
I was like, I do not want to go
She
to that
was
stand.
dead set that she was going to sit in her stand that she shot in last year.
Well, no,
killed
because
him last year.
I knew I don't feel comfortable shooting out of that stand. It's just I can't get the proper shot that I need. So I don't like hunting. So I was like, I'll sit there, but I'm not going to shoot anything out of that stand. So anyway, just
You
not.
too.
I've done it two times already, and I was like, I'm just not going to take the risk. I just, it's one of those things. Like you learn as you go, and I just learned, nope, that stand's not for me. It's for you. You've had really good luck out of there. So anyway, I get into the stand, and it's really slow. I'm not seeing a whole lot of deer. So of course, like my mind is going to, oh great, we don't have any deer here. The Amish killed them all. And I had a small buck come out, and then I think I had a doe and a fawn come out to my west. And they came out into the fields, they fed, hung out, and then all of a sudden I had this giant buck come out from 200 yards straight on. And he's walking along that tree line, and he's just working every scrape. He's raking his antlers on the tree branches, he's scraping the ground, he's peeing, and he just keeps walking. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, of course I tell myself I'm not going to make a shot out of this stand, and here he comes. So he walks right down that tree line, and it kind of juts into the west and then comes straight back. And actually I take that, did I say what wind it was? I think I said it was northwest, but it was northeast because that wind was going right over my left shoulder. And as that buck is coming around, I was like, stop right there. I'm like, don't go any further, because I didn't want him to catch my wind. And anyway, he comes down, and he's, right straight across from me, and he's working a scrape and raking his antlers. And I get this great video of him at 90 yards. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is a giant buck. And of course, at that point, I can't really tell what deer it is. You know, it looked like it might have been this guy from last year, but I couldn't really place it. And even you, when I sent the video, couldn't really place it at first. And then later on, we realized, we were like, oh my gosh, that's a deer I missed last year.
Yeah, he put on like a solid 40 inches
Wow.
probably.
Yeah, he blew up. So anyway, he continued to my left and he went right down that tree line. And of course, he stuck his nose in the air and he knew right away something wasn't right. And he was like, nope. He walked back up to the north and then went right into the woods and he was gone. And that was
But he'd come out by your other stand. He came out by your other stand because we had this conversation when you got home.
I don't remember at this
Somebody
point.
was all pissed off.
Somebody yeah.
Somebody
When he
was all
came
pissed.
out,
Somebody
he
was
came
all
out,
yeah, all pissed off at me that I wouldn't let her sit in the stand that she wanted to.
course.
One
I was
that
like
she's
mumbling
been
under my breath. I was
thinking
like,
about for weeks, right, leading up to the trip.
I know.
I'm
But
never listening to you again. Yada, yada. And I'm like, fine, don't listen to me. You hunt that side of the farm and I'll hunt mine.
no, but
You get that a lot, don't you?
I do.
No, but in reality, I know you can't. You got to hunt with the wind, and so obviously, had I sat there, he wouldn't have come out at all. None of the deer would have. I would have blown them all out of the water because they would have been out in the timber behind me. So
It's pretty funny. Everybody's like, oh, Cash looks so much like you. And I was like, yeah, but he's got his mother's attitude. Looks just like Dad. Got Mom's attitude. So second night, you sit.
So the second night I sit and I actually go out to my stand, and it was supposed to be
Stand where he walked out on.
where he walked out.
This is your first sit in the stand that he
Yes.
went by and
Yes.
you were.
Yeah, first sit in that stand that he came out near the night before. And it was supposed to be a west wind, which would have been ideal. But, the Midwest is just so hard because sometimes it's like west wind, but then you get out there and it's like north, east, west, south, southwest, like changes 8 different times. And so the wind was kind of swirling, and I had doe and fawn come out right across from me. Well, a little further south, so it was like a northwest. The wind was heading from the northwest to their direction. So they came out from the timber, and she immediately, like as she came out, she just like looked right at the stand, and I was like, yeah, I know you see me. I'm like, just keep walking.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, keep moving.
Not going to shoot you. Keep going.
I'm like, you're safe. So anyway, she stood there for probably 15, 20 minutes. And it's funny because we have these experiences with doe out there all the time where they won't leave. They know that there's something off, and yet they don't. And maybe this is just me. I don't know. But I thought this happened to you. I don't know, a couple times, but I've had doe that literally will stand right in front of me, and it's like they know that I'm there. I don't know if they're just picking up on my energy or what, but because I'm not moving, and we're just staring at one another, and they're just hanging out there. For last year, I had that doe.
They know something's not right,
Yeah.
right? They're not being able to smell you because you're playing the wind, but they know.
Yeah.
They walk out into that field and see that there's nothing in that stand, right?
and then they
see
see
daylight,
something.
and then all of a sudden they can't see daylight in it, right? Something's up.
Yeah,
they know.
but it's just interesting because they'll stay for 15 to 20,
Yeah,
30
they
minutes.
just stand there.
They don't leave. So anyway, she and her fawn finally make their way out into the field, heading toward that lightning stand south. And then I had a really nice 8-pointer walk out. It was probably comparable to the one that I shot last year. And he came out and he just stood there, and he winded me because, again, that wind was just going in all directions, and he caught my wind.
Could you have a shot at this one? How far?
Yeah. So from where my stand is on the edge of the field, it's about 50 yards to the other patch of timber. So he comes out and he's standing at 40 yards, and I could have easily shot him.
Yep.
And I didn't because I was like, you're not my deer. So he just hung out there. He had his nose in the air for a little bit, and then he was like, meh, I'm going to head north. So he walked back to the timber where that big buck came out the night before. And I can't remember if I think I had another deer come out that night. I had a smaller 8-pointer or a small 6 come out. And then he pegged me and went out into the field. But that was about it for that night. So I was a little bummed I didn't get that big deer come out. Actually, I had a deer blow from behind in the timber, and I was like, dang it, I'm had.
Yeah.
They know I'm here.
something's- Yeah.
They know something's up, and which again, like your first sit is probably your biggest opportunity. And so after 2 nights, and then I had deer peg me, I was like, oh man. So third night I go out, and the wind is perfect, and the wind's not swirling. It's doing exactly what I want it to do, and it's a west wind. But again, I've got those deer that are coming out from right across from me.
You went back to the same stand.
Went back
They
to the
were.
same stand. Yep. And I've got those deer coming out across that little piece of bean field. And I had an 8-pointer come up, and it was the same 8-pointer from the night before. And he ended up doing the same thing. He went back to the north. And then I had a 6-pointer come out with a spike horn right behind him. And this was probably at 5:15. It was early that he came out, and he knew something was off, but he stood there. Now, so I mean, most people don't know this, but first thing I do when I get into the stand when I go hunting is I meditate. It's just like my way. I ground. I just kind of like get in the zone and just kind of receive some information.
Everybody does something different, right? Like not everybody just gets into a stand and says, all right, here we go, let's go, right?
Yeah.
Like some guys,
Yeah.
in order to get their like equilibrium correct, right, will grab onto the tree and either look down or look up, close their eyes, right? If you tilt your head back and look up and then close your eyes and hold it for a second and then bring your head back down and then open your eyes, it makes you feel that much more comfortable, centered in the stand, right? Because when you're 20 feet up, it can be a little
scary.
a little bit, a little bit of a breeze or whatever, right? It gives you a depth perception too. It helps make things clear.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's kind of what I do. It's my little grounding. And so what's interesting is that during my meditation that night, I had seen to some this might sound weird, but I had seen myself shooting that really big deer, and I saw exactly where he was going to lay in the field. And this is not the first time that this has happened. It's happened with almost every single deer that I've shot. I know exactly where that deer is going to lay. I know where I'm going to find him. So anyway, I'm sitting there, and this 6-pointer comes out, and I've got him, where we've locked eyes. He knows I'm there. He knows something's off. The spike horn standing behind him. Now the 6-pointer is 40 yards from me. I could have shot him all day long. The spike horn is right on the edge of the woods, and he just hangs out there for 10 minutes or so, and then he finally just makes his way. And this 6-pointer standing in front of me, and he's stomping his foot. He knows something's off. He's like, all right, I'm not cool with this. Just keep stomping his foot. And I'm like, okay, come on.
Just move on.
Move along. And I mean, this is like 20 minutes go by, and he's still there. And I see these deer, when they came out, I took my hands out of my pockets. I got my bow ready. I'm, getting ready to act because, when the little ones start coming out, the big ones sometimes follow. So I'm like, I'm just going to get myself ready. So I've got thin gloves on because I don't like shooting with thick gloves. So my hands are starting to get cold. It's only been 20 minutes. And I'm like, move along. Come on, let's go. You're going to blow me out of the water here. And he just hangs out, and he keeps stomping his foot. And I'm not even kidding. It was like 45 minutes go by, and he's still there. And I remember sitting there thinking, like, I was just picking up this anxiety, and I was shaking. And at first I was like, oh, this is probably because I'm getting cold. And then I was like, no, I'm totally picking up on the deer's anxiety. And so I just did like a little, meditation of like energy flush. And I was like, all right, let's just get rid of this anxiety. And then I just had this calm roll over me. And then something just told me that this deer was standing there to help me get my giant buck. As weird as that sounds, I was communicating telepathically with this deer. I swear to God. I was like, all right, that's fine. You can stay there, but stop stomping your foot. Like, just, if you're here to help me, just chill it out. I'm not even kidding. So
If you're here for the show, sit down and shut up.
So he stopped. I kid you not, this deer just stopped, and he's standing there, and he's still staring at me. And he's just looking. And then all of a sudden, he turns his head and he looks to the north. And of course, I'm staring at him and I'm like, I cannot move because I don't want him to peg me. And so as I'm sitting in this tree, I'm facing out, but there's this tree branch that comes out from my left. And of course, I can't, unless I move, I can't see beyond this branch. It's a pretty thick branch. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe another deer is coming out. And that's what he's looking at. So I'm just sitting there waiting. And all of a sudden, I see movement coming from my left. And I'm still like, okay, well, I can't see. So I just have to be still. And at that point, I couldn't even see with, if I look, because the deer was behind the tree branch at that point. So anyway, he finally steps out past that tree branch and I look and I'm like, I just see antlers, like big antlers out of my peripheral. And I'm like, focus.
Oh,
So
gosh.
as that deer is walking out, he's walking right in line with that buck that's at 40 yards from me. So he's walking 40 yards. And because that deer was standing, that 6-pointer, he was standing where he was, that deer stopped. And then he started walking toward me.
Wow.
And he
Almost
came,
pushed you towards you.
that deer
Pushed him towards you.
totally pushed him right toward me. And he came right within 25 yards and he stopped right in front of me. And I couldn't tell at that point if it was because he caught my wind or he was just looking to see what that other buck was doing. But I didn't waste any time and I just shot. And
I think he was
That's
very
so exciting.
non-confrontational too.
yeah,
This deer, like,
he was on a mission. His mission was to go through all of those scrapes. And that's exactly what he was coming out to do. And I think he was wondering what that 6-pointer was doing. He's like, dude, what are you doing just standing here?
Yeah.
And
You
so
gonna cut my way or what?
exactly. Like he was walking down that line and, he was going to come right back out and he was going to work those scrapes. And I think he was just like, either get out of my way or.
yeah, I think he was very non-confrontational. Like, he lived in that corner of that farm, right? Like his sheds were there. That's where he lived. And when we walked in there this spring, it was not evident that there was a big buck that lived right there, right? Like most areas, when you walk into the certain portion of a farm, you can tell where a big one's living, right? He's rubbing massive trees, and there's a whole bunch of them, and he's bedding right there, getting up, rubbing a tree, hitting the bean field. And I don't think he was that way because I walked through there after she shot hers, and there was one rub in there that I was like, yep, that's him. And all he did, tree was probably 12, 14 inches across, and all he did was put one brow tine right in the center of the tree and hit it, and that was it. And outside of that, you would have never known that he lived there unless you'd have previous knowledge with him. And I think his body size had something to do with it. He scores 191 inches as a typical, and he probably was a 160-pound deer.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's probably the smallest mature buck that I've ever seen out there. Just little tiny.
Wow.
And same thing, little tiny hoof on him.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
wild.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and the interesting thing is that when I shot, he ended up going exactly
To where you imagined it.
exactly where I saw him falling.
Wow.
And lying right there in the field.
Yeah, you had plenty
So-
of daylight left and everything.
But okay, here's where it gets even more interesting is that happens and I pull my phone out because of course at that point I'm shaking because I'm like, oh my God, I just got the biggest buck of my life. Little did I know it was going to score 191.
Yeah.
It probably will be the biggest buck of my life. But I take my phone out to text Joey to say, oh my God, I just shot the biggest buck of my life. It's 6:06. And I'm texting him that and I send it and then I read, he had sent me a text at, it was either 6 or 6:01. And you said, Chris just got a buck, you're next. And it was literally like, as all of that stuff was happening, that buck came out and I shot him.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow.
They were moving in that
That's cool.
span.
Yeah.
That weather was right. We knew that you were going to pretty much see that deer, right? Like I hadn't hunted.
point, yeah.
I don't think I'd hunted at all. Maybe I hunted that morning. You watched Cash, I hunted that morning, but I
Yes,
hadn't
you did.
hunted in evening because it was just a matter of time before you were going to see him. And you weren't hunting the mornings
Right.
for that particular reason, not
Yeah,
to
and
blow
you
him
hunted
out
the
of
other
there.
side of the farm, so that way there you wouldn't blow any of the deer out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty good buck.
Yeah.
Very good buck.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited
That's awesome.
about that.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
you should.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, we got the antlers back on the way home. We had to pick up all of our meat, and we had to stop at the store to get a fabric measuring tape.
All right, we're back. Camera break.
So we're on our way home. We stop at the meat locker to pick up our meat and antlers, and Joey's really excited to score these deer. So
Not really.
What do you mean, not really?
Well, I mean, we had them in our possession. I could give two shits what they score.
I know, but you were like, oh, we should stop at the store and get fabric measuring tape
Well,
so that
yeah.
you can score it on the way home.
Yeah.
You're excited,
Which-
don't lie.
Yeah, yeah, you were excited. So we stop and we get a measuring tape. Of course, it's it's a 19-hour drive home. So, I mean, it makes the time go by. So we stopped. We got one. And,
Let this be a lesson, Dustin. Just let them think what they're going to think. They're going to do it anyways.
well, so, I get back in the truck with the measuring tape, and, he's giving me direction on how to score this deer, which I've never done before because I've never had a deer worthy of scoring before. So he's giving me this information, and I score it, and I'm like, oh my gosh. It was like 206. And he's like, no way. And I was like, no way. It was 205.5. Uh-huh. And you were like, wait, did you score it right? And you had told me an extra measurement on there.
Yeah, you measured you measured a fifth circumference.
Yeah. So I had to redo it and get rid of the one circumference, which was kind of a letdown. I was like, oh man, it's 191.
Bummer.
After scoring 205. Still awesome.
Yeah, phenomenal buck.
But yeah, so no, somebody told me that men are definitely misleading with the amount of inches you get. So.
Oh my God. That's why women, why women can't parallel park, right?
Hey, I can parallel park.
Yeah, I parallel park just
That's
fine.
because they've been told that 6 inches is,
They don't know what 6 inches is.
you know where I'm going with that.
You guys are liars.
Well, I'm phenomenal at parallel parking, so apparently you've given me the correct information there.
I tell you. Jesus. Let's switch the topics. Are you done talking about this?
Right.
Brooke,
Yes, sir.
let's talk about your hunt. You went to PA.
Yeah, I went to PA. Me and my dad go. He's been going for like 9 years now, and he brought me and my brothers down a couple of years ago for Thanksgiving, and I shot the biggest buck of my life, and then I had to film in Iowa last fall, so I wasn't able to make it up, and you guys had left for your trip, and I was like, you know what, I'm going. We're gonna go bow hunting down there. So we get down, we're super stoked. I'm excited. I haven't been down there, and I look forward to it. I look forward to hunting with my dad. Spending that time with him is just super special to me. And so we scouted a lot. We hit all the spots that he knows of, and we're running around, and it's raining out, and we're getting soaked, and he's putting me through pucker brush. And
Is this public land?
Yep.
Nice.
Public land. And we had gone into this spot, and he had found some good sign. I found some good sign. I saw a really big rub and a fresh ground scrape, and I was like, I'm setting up here. But the wind was never right for it. And he found a spot further back on the property line, the deer coming in and out of the guy had a food plot. So he was stoked. He's like, this is primo. I'm going to catch him coming in and out. And so I went to where I shot my big buck, and I ended up passing up a 7-pointer up there, and I was fine with it. I was like, I could shoot this in Vermont any day. Just going to let him walk. So that was fun. My dad's giving me shit. You should have shot it. And I was like, nah, it wasn't the hunt that I wanted. It's like, it's too easy. I rattled him in. It wasn't for me. I felt that it just wasn't for me. So the next day, he goes to his spot. I go to, I was like, I'm going to go to the ridge across from you and just go check it out. The wind was terrible. It was blowing right down the ridge where I was headed. And I walk up there, jump a deer, walk up a little further, jump another deer. So I go out and I get on the other side. I'm looking down through and I can see, I'm pretty sure it was a buck, but I never got close enough to tell what it was. And I just I'm like, maybe I'll catch him. He's headed that way. Get out there, jump another deer, keep going, jump another deer. I'm like, wow, I found right
Into them.
Yeah, like they were everywhere. So I'm coming back down around. I was like headed back to the truck to go grab my tree stand. And I see this fresh ground scrape. I'm like, wow, this is like within the hour. This is really fresh. So I see that there's a bunch of deer track, like the leaves are all scuffed up. So I start walking. I don't know, I went probably 100 yards and I see a buck just looking for doe hard. And I'm like, no way, this is so cool. So I kind of get under this Christmas tree and I start calling to get his attention. And
Rattling, grunting.
no rattling, I just had the grunt in the can. And I'm going back and forth and he's not paying attention to me. And I'm like, I don't know what to do, whatever. So I go and like try and move up further and I scared another deer. I never got to look at it, but there was a big buck in there. And I was, after thinking about it, I'm like, man, what if that was the big one? Never got to look at it. And so I get to the end of this dead log, like 10 yards from this little Christmas tree I'm trying to hide under. And I get down on the ground, I'm sitting there, and now that buck in front of me, I got his attention. Like the other deer's blowing at me. Now he's coming over to check it out. He comes 20 yards, broadside right below me, and because I continue to grunt and call, and he comes through, but there's all these little tiny trees in the way. Like there was no opening at all, and I stopped him before he caught my wind, and it was like a hole like that big, and I was like, send it down through. So it misses. He takes off back out in front of me, and I keep grunting, keep can calling, and you can hear him blowing, and then he starts working, trying to get above me. He wants to know what the hell I'm doing or what I am, and he comes up through, and there's some beech trees in between us, and he stops and he looks right at me as I'm range finding him. I'm like, crap, I'm busted. I have no coverage. I'm just sitting there, and he keeps coming, and he comes up. Last time I ranged him was 36 yards, and he came right above me broadside, stopped him, shot. I did put my 40-yard pin because I was like, I don't know, like it was a tough call, like how far. I was like, I don't know, whatever, but put the 40 on it. Shoot, he takes off with his tail between his legs, and I get up there, there's blood sprayed everywhere. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got him. That was so cool. And I text my dad, I said, I got blood. And he texts me at the same time and says, I got a buck down. So we had shot deer at the same exact time.
That's
So
awesome.
it was really exciting, and it ended up turning into a wicked tracking job that I won't get into. But what happened is when I shot, he must have turned, and I clipped him in the throat, and it came out high front shoulder.
Wow.
So he went like 500 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a day. But the deer ended up dying 60 yards below where we had butchered my dad's deer.
Wow.
No way.
Yeah, like
That's-
right in a dead straight line.
That's pretty cool.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
wild.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was super fun.
Cool.
Huh. Nice.
Yep.
And the rest of the season, you've been filming.
Yeah, I went over and saw John Wright and stayed with him and his family. John took me on 5 ridges in crunchy snow, and we didn't see a damn thing. That was a lot of fun.
And then you went with Trav.
It was a nice pace compared to hunting with you, Joey.
Was it?
I have to say.
Why, he a little bit slower, is he? A little more
Yeah.
easygoing?
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
going to say,
Yeah.
man, I
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
I hunt at a faster pace, but then I get out in the woods with Joey, and I'm like, nope, I'm not
Yeah.
that fast.
Well, we went on a moose hunt.
How was
And,
the before you get off of that? How was the snack selection with John Wright?
He had 2 wraps that he made.
Two?
He ate 2 wraps. What else did John have?
5-star meal.
Nutri-Grain bars.
Carries a backpack to carry it off, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what's in the backpack. And a set of antlers.
Huh.
And a water.
Huh.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah. So we did that for a couple days.
Yeah.
And then I went over to Travis's. And me and Travis, I thought we were going to get into him. We jumped one.
Yeah.
Not sure what it was. That was cool. First thing, fresh ground scrape. So I was pretty excited. But then nothing.
Same thing.
And
He didn't want to leave.
and he's showing me all these bucks on camera, and I'm like, man, this is insane right here. So I was excited, but it just didn't happen. And then where did he drag me to the
Wait,
next
why
day?
are you not asking what little Debbie has in his snack pack?
I was going to get there. I was going to get there. I was going to.
Oh no, little
if you were
Debbie
hunting
was
behind.
eating like he was eating beech nuts.
Was he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. He didn't eat at all.
Become one with nature.
Yeah. He never ate.
He's on a diet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Too many little Debbies during the
Yeah.
summer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think last year he realized.
Did those two bicker and banter and bitch back and forth at all?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Travis texted
Those
me.
two?
Yeah.
don't-
Travis texted me and told me that I should dump John's snack bag. And then when I was with Travis, John was saying that Joey should pay me more for putting up with someone like Travis. It's a lot more extra work. I don't know. It was
Brooke
pretty
is
funny.
film girl, therapist.
Yeah.
Okay,
You
wait.
name it.
So now the misnaming on the packages
Oh yeah,
is
because you
kind of
had
making sense
you
now.
mailed them something, right? And their
Yeah.
package was messed up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I labeled it to John. Thought it
Yeah.
was going to John, right?
Yeah,
And it
they
was
thought
going-
that was a cruel joke.
When in reality, it was just Joey's communication skills.
Yeah, it might have been. It might have been.
That's funny.
Yeah. Well, good deal. Good deal.
Yep.
Are we going to talk about your deer that you got?
You can if you'd like,
I mean, we're
or do you want me
Heck
to
yeah,
talk
I
about
want to
it?
hear it.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
we're
we
on
wanna-
the same
we
trip,
wanna know.
Yeah.
and you got a equally as nice deer as I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not really much of a story to it. It's a pretty short story. You killed
I think we have time.
you killed your buck,
Camera's
Yeah.
rolling.
and then I killed that one the next morning.
What'd that guy score?
179.
Yeah, 178, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yep. Another
Yep.
phenomenal buck.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Holy.
Check
Not
out
much of a
these
story.
babies.
Yeah.
I sat there the morning before and passed
Unbelievable.
up like 130-inch 8-pointer with a kicker off his back G2, 5 yards. And I was like, I am not shooting another buck on the first morning or the first real sit in. I
Yeah.
just wasn't going to do it. I've done it. It would have been the third time there that I would have been there for 2 weeks and killed one in the first 45 minutes.
How long are these G2s?
15.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sitting there, wind was supposed to do its thing, was not doing its thing. Sun was coming up, was pulling the thermal. Doe steps out into the field. She was like 50 yards, put her nose in the air, and pegs me. She tucked her tail and she kind of like did a little J hook in the field. And she turned around and looked again, and then she went not the way she came, but off another direction there. And I was like, well, this just isn't going to work, right? Like, buck comes out, he's going to peg me before I even can get a shot at him. And I made up my mind that I was going to get down out of the stand and go to the other side of the farm where the wind was decent in my face. And I crawled to the
What time of day was this?
This was like 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Yep.
I crawled down out of the stand, turn around and look. Literally, boots hit the ground. I turn around and look, and he's walking across
No
the field to me.
Way.
And he's
Wow.
like 75 yards. And of course,
Wow.
he sees movement. When I step down, turn, he sees movement and he locks it up. And luckily, there was a bush between me and him.
Yeah.
And he locks it up, and we make eye contact for probably 15 seconds, I would say. He puts his head to the ground and he starts coming.
Oh man.
And he keeps coming. He's coming parallel. And I know the way that wind is blowing, right? Like the wind was supposed to be coming dead west, and it was going more south because the way the sun was coming around. And he keeps coming. He comes around that bush, and I range him, and he was at 40,
You're on the ground.
Yep, he was at 47 yards, and I put that rangefinder back in my pocket, and he keeps coming, and I'm like on him, and he's coming, and he stopped dead, and when he stopped dead, it was because he pegged my win, right? He stopped dead, and the second he locked him up, I put it right behind his shoulder and pulled the trigger.
No
It was
way.
done, and then that was it. Like, quick,
cool.
done. 4.5 hours, I think I had into sitting, and
This guy's got the most deer luck out of anybody I know.
it was a good family trip though, right? Because like
Yeah.
my dad
Yeah.
and Chris, my uncle were there. Your parents were there. We bring
Yeah, that's
Cash
cool.
out
That's
there.
fun.
There was a lot of
fun.
firsts, right?
Yeah.
Cash's first Halloween. You know?
Oh yeah. So
We-
actually, it was really cool because I got my deer the night of the 30th, and then you got this deer on the morning of Halloween.
Yeah.
So then there was no pressure to have
Yeah.
to like be like, who's gonna take Cash trick or treating?
Yeah. I actually FaceTimed you on because I shot my buck on Halloween as well.
Yeah, you did
And I
too.
FaceTimed you that night, and you guys were out trick or treating. I
Yeah.
thought that was pretty cool. You guys both shot bucks, and you guys are taking Cash out trick or treating.
Oh yeah. Well, this was the greatest
That
thing.
was
Well,
really
Chris
cool.
got his buck too.
Chris got his buck the same
The
night.
same night as me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all
But
of
then,
us shot.
so,
Jeez.
yeah, all of us got them. But then, of course, we're like taking Cash trick or treat. It was really cold that night, so we had an Airbnb in this little town, and we were just going to take him around town there. But it was really cold, and we were like, we should probably just put him in the truck and go like block to block, and then we can just walk to a couple houses, and then get back in the truck and then go down the road. And so he pulls over at one point. I get Cash out of the truck, and we're walking behind the truck, and Cash goes, "There's blood everywhere."
There
I'm like,
was.
oh my gosh, yeah. Speaking of Halloween and being a horror show, we've got like the biggest horror show in the back of the
There's
truck.
3 dead bucks.
around town.
There's 3 dead bucks in the back of my pickup truck, right?
Oh boy.
Tailgate's down. You can't close the tailgate because they're too long. And we're going house to house trick or treat.
It was a good thing I got
Jamie's in her
dark
awesome.
quick.
Sitka gear, going door to door with Cash.
Well, I didn't have a Halloween costume, so I mean, I had my hunting gear, so it's
That
like,
worked
well,
out.
That's great.
Yeah, no, it was a good trip. It was a lot of fun.
That's great.
yeah.
Yeah, no, and then other than that, I mean, I haven't hunted. I don't know what to do. I shot a doe with a bow a couple times. I went out.
Nice.
We went moose hunting. Brent had a moose tag, cow tag. We saw 7 bulls and 5 cows before we finally found a cow that did not have a calf, which that was a big thing. I just did not want to be a part of a cow. Finding a cow that doesn't have a calf is extremely difficult because the ratio in Vermont, Nick Fortin might disagree with me. He'll be on this podcast eventually, but I would say that it's easily 4-to-1 bulls over cows. So it's extremely difficult to find a cow that doesn't have a calf. Every cow is getting chased around, and when she comes in, she's getting bred. So we pounded a lot of miles. We did 12, 14 miles a day. We had snow one day. We went to 3,000 feet.
Yeah, that was
Tracked
fun.
Yeah, that's
tracked
cool.
one bull down.
Yep.
One track, and ended up being a bull. And then you saw
Yeah,
we jumped another one.
Bumped into another one.
Yep. And
Yeah, that was a fun day.
and I hadn't been carrying a gun because I didn't want to kill his moose. Like I just
Let him
didn't want to
his
do
thing.
it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not a big fan of like shooting them anyways. They die extremely hard. It's just my thing. I just don't like doing it. 4th day, he's like, I'd seen 3 moose the day before, and we were all pretty much shoulder to shoulder, but he couldn't see him when I could. And he was like, "You're carrying a gun." So I carried a gun.
Yep.
And we went into this one area that we had been in before. There's a ton of moose sign. And they went just in front of me, not very far, 100 plus maybe, not far.
Not even.
Yeah. And I stayed up on the other points where I could see down into the cut. And we got these 2 guys that walked right in between us.
No way.
Like right in between us. Like looked at me. I'm in orange, right? I got an orange on. I got an orange hat on, right? I can see them practically. They stand there. They're looking at me like deer in the headlights, stupid as can be. And then they look at them and then walk right in between us to the direction.
on going.
That we're looking.
Careful what we say. They might.
They might be. They might be. They walk right straight in front of
Unbelievable.
where.
Obviously, you guys are hunting together.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going back to the truck. I start walking.
That was a
I
lot of
have a
fun.
hard time with that stuff, right? Like, I try and play fair, right, and ethics and everything else. And when someone comes in and purposely tries to get in between you,
Yeah.
right, like,
Well,
use some common sense.
It's a matter of safety at that point, and what's safe and what's not.
It is, and I did. I
yeah.
was like, I'm going to touch one off just so I could go back to the truck, change
Which
your
you would
underwear.
actually never do.
No,
but
I would
it's-
never
Right.
do
we
it,
were
but it was just
joking around. And
yeah. So I start walking back up the trail, just turn around, and all of a sudden I can see a silhouette of a cow right there, and she's 75 yards and she's through the brush, and I'm like, oh, I don't see another moose with her, and I'm like, if I don't shoot, he's gonna have my ass. And
Brent
Yeah.
wanted you to shoot.
yes,
yeah.
and
You guys were trying to take off for your trip, and
Yep.
we were calling it at noon, weren't we?
yeah, we were calling it.
Gotcha. So this was
Yeah.
last
Because we
day.
were seeing
Yeah.
moose, but they were all bulls,
Right.
Or they were cows
or
with
with
calves.
calves.
And I shoot, and she scoots, and I took off running, and I get up there, and there's this great big boulder, and I get to that boulder, and she's right on the other side of it. Well, there's not just one, there's two there now. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. There's two big cows standing together. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. What are the odds that there's
Yeah.
right? I come across this cow that doesn't have a calf, and now there's,
there's
two
two of them with
mature
the
cows.
calves. Yeah.
And which one did I just shoot at? Right? Do I got
Right.
one leaking or not?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. And it's like first light. So it's gray light. And I don't ever wear a bivvy harness, but I wore a bivvy harness for the pure fact of like identifying what we were shooting at before we shot. Because you get a spike bull, his ears will hide a lot of those antlers.
Yeah.
You know? So those two are standing there, and I pull up my binos and I'm looking, and this one all of a sudden walks into the brush and she starts feeding. There's this little island of, red maple, and she starts feeding. I was like, well, obviously I didn't hit her, and I turn back around and I'm looking at the bigger one, and she's just kind of meandering, milling around, and she goes behind this rock, and I'm waiting for her to pop out, and all of a sudden I can see a fork and another fork, antlers, right? So there's a bull right there.
Jeez.
And then she turns and she comes back out and she stops. And I could see like a bare spot on her, but I was like, that don't look like a bullet hole, And she starts feeding. And I was like, apparently I didn't touch either one of them, right? So Brent and Brooke are at my heels at this point, right? And Brooke can see the moose.
Yeah.
Brent can't see the moose. Brooke can see the moose, and I'm trying to give hand signals, and Brooke's going right there.
I'm going,
Shoot it.
Shoot, Brent.
Shoot it. And I'm
In
going,
the video.
I'm going, no.
And I can't
I'm
see
doing
Joey.
this, right? Like guns here, right? And
Yeah.
I'm doing this with the hand. I'm going two.
Yeah.
And he comes up shoulder to shoulder. And when he came shoulder to shoulder and got around that rock, he could see her. And she spotted him at that point in time. And I was like, back one, right? He still didn't even know what back one meant, but he could see her, and I knew he could see her. So he shot twice quickly. I shot twice. And at the same time, that other cow comes out of the brush. And I was like, stop.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
don't shoot. He didn't realize that the other one was in the bushes. He could only see the one that we were shooting at.
Yeah. So
And
it's a
that
good
one
thing you
comes,
said that.
oh yeah, right across, right in front.
Jeez.
Like, it was a touch and go
Melee.
moment for
Yeah.
a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really was. And even then, once she was down, I followed that cow, the other cow, just to make sure.
Yeah.
Because the last thing I wanted was in the back of my mind, like, what if?
Yeah,
you know
right.
what I mean? But no,
Right.
followed her. There was another big bull with them down
Yeah.
in there. And then those two guys came along, and they were really good guys.
Yeah.
And maybe they just didn't. I mean, I had an orange hat, but maybe.
I don't know if they saw me and Brent. Me and Brent were talking about it. I was like, man, I don't know if they see us,
Right.
but maybe they do. I mean, we have orange hats on. We're on a rock. We're standing up on a rock. Like,
Yeah,
I
it
don't
was
know.
it was low light. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe
Right.
they didn't
Right.
see us.
Right.
I
Right.
don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah, just with all the things considering it was a tough hunt. It was a very tough hunt. It's,
Yeah.
I would say it's just as difficult killing a cow that doesn't have a calf as it was a 60-inch
Yeah,
bull.
absolutely. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So,
It was funny because that morning that all this happened, I said to Brent, why can't it just be like Big Buck Hunter, the game, the arcade game? Like, why can't it just be like that? And
Well,
the
you got
cows
to
are
see
running
it.
everywhere, bulls, and we got that. It happened,
end, it
and it was
Unbelievable.
it was funny. I
You
was
were
like,
able to
wow, it's like
capture
we
all
had-
of that too?
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was a little chaotic.
Yep.
It's not perfect. It was a little crazy.
Yeah.
Them two are like shooting. There's moose running everywhere. And,
Yeah.
But
Yep.
I think it'll be good enough.
Nice.
Yeah.
That'll drop next September, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
fun.
And
Yeah.
Dustin's
We'll hold on to
hunt
that.
and
Yeah. Yep. But outside of that, I haven't
Yeah.
really hunted since I got back from Illinois. Just one thing after another with work. And then I had a very unfortunate situation with one of my guys, and
Yeah.
tough. So I have to obviously keep the wheels on the bus before I can hunt.
Right.
And that's what I got to do until I can clear my head and do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anything else you guys want to add?
Well, where are you heading next? When
Where
you
am I
can.
heading? I have a couple buck in New Hampshire that I would like to shoot. One of them.
Yeah, I've seen those buck. They're really nice.
Do you want me to tell you a little bit about one of them?
Yeah.
He's probably 24 inches wide. He's got 9 points on his head. I bet you he'll weigh probably 210-ish. I've already got a spot for him on the wall.
you have room left?
Yeah. No, we'll see.
There's always room.
There's
always room, yeah.
there's a couple good buck in there. They're covering a lot of ground, and quite honestly, I'm not going to dick around with it much longer. I'll probably go with my nose and track a buck down wherever I find a good track eventually.
Yep.
It probably is not going to be in that area.
Right.
So it's season's finally rolling. Bucks are starting to do their thing.
Yeah, they are.
We're getting a little snow.
And now we're getting a little snow too,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
starting tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, to
So-
me, things, though my season really hasn't kicked off yet, I've only spent a couple days out in the woods, but it's just starting. There's a lot of guys that have been out there for a while and they've almost lost steam, right? You get that early snow and they're all jonesing to go, and then they can get a buck, and then all of a sudden it hits 60 degrees and all the snow melts and it takes the steam right out of them. And, guys are saying, oh, the deer aren't moving, they're not doing their thing. Well, they're doing their thing. They're just going to do it at night.
Right.
And on bare ground, you're not going to see it, right? You get snow. This week should be good.
Yeah.
The following week, though, a lot of seasons will go to muzzleloader, or Vermont will be closed. Northern zone in Pittsburgh will be closed, but they'll be doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, there will be.
We get enough snow, it'll push them off those tops too.
I need that for where I'm hunting.
Yeah, yeah. So, girls, anything you want to add?
I don't think so.
Okay, let's wrap this up then,
Yeah.
huh?
It's a wrap.
Thank you.
It's a wrap. Thanks.
Till the
Thank
next one,
you.
guys.
Yeah.
We'll see ya.